Hey there, my name is Noemi, and in today's video, we are going to do an overview of automation in Confluence. So before we get started, let's first talk about what Confluence is if you're not familiar with Confluence. Confluence is an application by Atlassian that is basically their collaboration space tool. And you can think of it kind of like a wiki, or if you've ever used SharePoint, you can think of it similar to SharePoint, where basically you have pages that you and your team members or other people can co-edit and you can have them published. So instead of saving things in documents, they're saved on web pages. So Confluence has a variety of page types and templates and different plugins that allow you to make this application a lot more functional. But at the heart of it, it is a collaboration space for teams. So what is automation? Well, automation is a cool feature in Confluence that allows you to create rules that helps you manage your content. So for example, in this particular space, every time I have a page that goes underneath this frequently asked questions section, like this one right here, I actually have an automation that automatically adds this label called FAQ to the page. So by doing that, I'm able to have consistency in how things are tagged within my space, which makes them a lot more searchable. And it's a lot easier to find things, like if I were to click on this particular label, I actually will be able to pull up everything that has that label. So if you don't want to search, you can always click on labels and see what content is available for that particular label, which is a pretty cool feature. So what is the automation? Automation is available to administrators of the space, and it's here in the upper corner, basically where the space settings are. You can click on automation. And in the automation section, you're going to see that it comes natively with multiple automations already available for you to just kind of pick up and start using, which is a really nice feature, because if you're like me, sometimes it's a little intimidating to try to create something from scratch, especially if you're not very familiar with it. So let's take a look at what some of these things do. So if you remember, I just said that I have an automation that adds a label to my page every time it's created. So how that was made is we actually went to this one right here called add specific labels when it's published by a certain author. We came in here and we took what they gave us out of the box and we just modified it. So all we did is we changed this right here, this condition, from, instead of looking for a specific person, we said if it's under a specific parent, meaning if it's underneath this frequently asked questions parent, then it would add a label. And of course, we modified the label, right? So it's a really great way to quickly get off the ground running just by using what they've already given us out of the box. There's no extra charge for this. This is just the way it comes. So, you can always come in here and take a look and see what works for you and then modify as your heart contents. Now, if you have Atlassian Intelligence, this adds a little extra oomph to the automation, because Atlassian Intelligence would be right here, right where you can see that this site doesn't have intelligence. But normally if it did, it would actually be a section and you could actually start typing in what you want your automation to do, and it will attempt to create these rules on your behalf based on what you tell it. And that's a really great feature if you have Atlassian Intelligence. But if not, you can always start from here, or you can just start from scratch if you're comfortable with that. So let me show you really quickly about what this section is. So here in the automation section, we have usage, and usage allows us to see which automations that we have published and who's using them, how many times are they being used. This is fantastic, especially if you're an administrator. If people start getting excited and creating lots of rules, sometimes, in fact, it's always a good practice to come in and do cleanup. And if you have items that have very low usage, these are great ones to have as ideal candidates to disable them and possibly delete them in your site. And of course, we were just in templates, and so you can see the templates that are here. Atlassian will add templates as they see fit. The audit log is a great space where you can see all of the audit logs for every single rule that you have. So as you can see here, we have different things. Right here, I've edited this particular rule 4 times, and then I had this rule here, and then I made another change, right? So this is a great way to see all of your audits for all of your automations within this particular space. The other way you can do things, especially as this starts getting really large, is you can start using these filters to quickly find things, right? So if I look for triggers, meaning the things that make the automations run, I could search very easily and say, okay, publish, right? So I want to see how many automations do I have where the trigger is page published. Cool. Here's all the logs for anything with that as your trigger. It's a really nice way to quickly find things. And then, of course, you can use the more common ones like date and time and audit log ID if you know that. The last place we have is where you'll probably spend most of your time is in the automation section. These are where your rules are. So templates are just, think of them as like if you're working in a word processing document and you go and you look at templates and there's a whole bunch of options. None of those things are actually saved on your computer. They're just there until you put them into your document. Same thing goes for automations. They're available in a library, but they don't actually go onto your space until you actually create a rule and turn it on. And so here in the rules section, this shows you all the rules that you actually have. So in here, I have 2 rules. They're both enabled, and I can click into any one of them, and I can see what that rule is. I can also modify it and make updates and changes to it. So this is the rule that we have that actually adds the label to any children underneath this section. And so if you are looking to learn and you have automations in place, this is a great way to be able to kind of go back in and reverse engineer things or see what you can learn just by reading the different automations. Every time you add updates to your automations, you do have to update them. That's how you save it. It doesn't automatically save. So if I were to come in here and delete this section here, if I didn't update it, it would not save my changes, which is a good thing because sometimes you don't necessarily want to. If you're like me, sometimes you go thinking that you got it all and you make a bunch of changes and then you break it all. So not updating is a way of like undoing everything. So that's a really great thing. You can also just turn off your automations from here. So if I were to do this and return to rules, as you can see now I've disabled my automation. I can also open it and re-enable it. The other thing you can do in here is in these 3 dots, you can go and copy things. This is really great, especially if you're troubleshooting and you want to play around with fixing something. Sometimes if you make an automation, you might realize that there's a bug that you find and you want to try to fix that bug without impacting the current automation. So copying is a great way to create your own, sandbox play area and to test out any changes you might think about making on an existing automation. So with that, that is a quick sneak peek into what automation is in Confluence. I hope that you give it a shot and let me know how it goes. Talk to you later. Bye.